So, you mentioned that like you've had, or you're violent natured or whatever, and I'm curious how you feel like, so you were a wrestler, how like organized sport like that, or having like an outlet, like a physical outlet, helped you as a young man figure out how to kind of control those things.
I think it's crucial. I think we've moved so far away from raising young men that we're having the problems we're having in our society. Is that we don't allow them to fail. We've got mothers that don't allow their kids to struggle. We don't teach what it means to be a man. We don't, like my 11-year-old spent the night out in the woods by himself on my property.
That's awesome.
Like he wanted to, so I said yes, and he made it to like 1 a.m. and he's like, I can't sleep, and I'm, Dad, I'll come out and visit. Like I'll come and see you.
Yeah.
And he was a good, quarter mile from the house, so in the middle of our property. So like I don't think we stress it enough that we create that, but unfortunately, there's a lot of kids like me growing up without a dad.
Yeah.
So, and we're in that right now. So for me, that's why I coach wrestling now, and I want to be a part of the youth. I want to find those kids, those diamonds, essentially these violent natured kids that have seen things they probably didn't need to see growing up, and there's more and more of it. And I think that wrestling and contact sports or something independent like that has rules, and I can take a violent natured kid that gets trouble in school because he can't let his energy out.
Yeah.
And
it's like a controlled outlet.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it has rules, and I can say, hey, you can go 100% on this kid. These are the things you can and can't do.
Yep.
And that's why boxing and, jiu-jitsu or anything like that, it's an outlet that will take a kid who's soft because he's been a certain way, or you can take a soft kid who's been sheltered and put him in MMA or wrestling.
Yep.
And his testosterone rises, and he starts to learn to fight back, and his whole mood changes. And then you take a violent natured kid and you stick him in it, and he calms down.
That's so interesting. Yeah. I feel like there's such a the way our society has decided to deal with young men, kind of like you were alluding to, has been so toxic, that, men are not allowed to be men. Men are not allowed to exhibit, their nature, which is violence. It's testosterone. I mean, and to have
testosterone
football, but I feel like to have that outlet is so important. And so I have 3 kids. I have a daughter and I've got 2 little boys. So it's interesting for me trying to navigate this. So my oldest son, he's only 2.5. Our little guy, he's how old is he now? 8 months. And so it's interesting now with them just being these little guys, trying to figure out, how do I nurture you to grow up to be strong men and have control over your your impulses, and
how do you nurture their nature?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there you go. That's the perfect way to put it.
That's the biggest argument. Is it nurture or nature? Well, it's nature, but you got to nurture it.
And so for someone like Wyatt or anyone else who has a couple of young boys, or that's the hope one day, what's your advice for raising young men?
My advice is to let their instincts, let boys be boys, and my wife and I made some pretty clear rules.
Not allowed to say that anymore. Not allowed to say let boys be boys.
Well, there was a whole
what was that Gillette commercial?
Yeah, Gillette that got
stupid.
Anyways, my wife and I kind of set it up. We had a daughter and then 4 sons, and we separated who was going to raise. And it was tough. My wife's, only child, and she was raised by an strong independent woman, and this whole feminism stuff. And she had to learn the hard stuff that a successful marriage, man and woman, husband, biblically, is that the man leads under God and the wife is under husband. And they both live in that light of God. And the unfortunate side for our society is we're pushing women to be equals to men. Right. And the only way you can push that is to take the masculinity away from men. You just can't do it. So,
it's not, the word isn't equal. The word is the same, and it's not the same. Right. It's like, doesn't mean one isn't greater than the other, but they're just so different.
We are so different, and that's and
not allowed to say that anymore.
We get into these roles and all that stuff. Yeah. So, for me, and I'll quote Jordan Peterson. I like some of the stuff. I love listening to Jordan Peterson, but he says for young boys is to let them do dangerous things cautiously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Quick pause. If you stop, like this video, subscribe to this channel, that means my channel is going to grow, which means I can keep doing this. It is the #1 thing that you can do to support me. Please take a second, like this video, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and enjoy the rest of the clip.
And that's how I raise my boys. Like they fall down. I'm just like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you got to realize that's pain. That's going to
Yeah.
happen.
Right. So long as you're, you know, a bone's not
That's
sticking
right.
out of your leg,
And
you're
we
good
didn't.
to go.
The one thing my wife and I did was really well is we communicated how we were going to raise our kids before we had kids. So we knew like what age we were going to start assigning book reports, what age we were going to start, you know, timeout wasn't going to work.
Yeah.
Like things we were going to do. We're not going to spank my kid. Sure, I'm going to pop my kid, but I did like the spanking game when they were little, like the 2-year-old in a diaper or whatever. When we did the spanking game, they would crawl through my legs and I would smack them in the diaper. And there'd be pillows, and I'd hit them and they'd fly under the legs, and I would increase the amount of smack, and it was associated with fun. And I was walloping those kids,
and they just
and then when it came time to discipline, I dialed it way down to the first one, and I popped him on the butt, but it was a stern no from Dad.
Right.
And there was never need for pain in the spanking. That hurt more.
It was like the emotional aspect.
That Dad would pop.
That's cool.
And I was measured, so I tested it in play and knew that I wasn't hurting my kid.
Right.
And so we knew all of that ahead of time, how we were going to, you know, when was book reports and when are they going to read and have to get punished that way. So we thought about that stuff way before, and there was still a struggle because you got to let go of that control. When Lisa, my wife, she'd never seen a dad discipline a son. She's an only child.
Right.
So she didn't realize there's a huge difference between disciplining daughters and disciplining sons. And she'd always be like, you need to go upstairs and hug your boy. And I was like, no, I don't. Right now he needs to sit in it.
Yeah.
Like he needs to know Dad was disappointed. I raised my voice at him and he did what he did was wrong. And that happened all through all 4 boys. And
it's amazing, like for me, because again, my kids are little. They're little. But already the difference between, you know, my daughter who's 4 and my son who's 2.5 could not be more clear.
Right.
I mean, it is so obvious that they are not going to respond to the same kind of you know, punishment or discipline.
They're not. And
so different.
That's the key to it also, is your role in each child's life is different.
Yeah.
Your role as a dad is to be an example for your daughter on what a man is.
Right. Right.
And then for your son, it's harder because there's expectations that you have now for him, and he has to see you as an example of a man he wants to be.
Yeah.
Right. And as dads, you're going to see this. They're not going to understand it till they're grown, but you're going to do things for them, and it's going to be rough for you, but you're the only man alive that wants your boys to be better than you. There's not another person alive that wants your son to do better than them.
Yeah.
Except your boys.
Yeah.
So, and your kids. And that's what I want for my children.
That's cool.
And so you're going to be like, hey, I need you to listen to me. I know what's around that corner, but I also have to be able to let go and say, go find out for yourself.
Absolutely.
So, but what I kind of say I am for my kids, grown or not, is I like the analogy that we're all on our own train. So at some age, you get a chance to jump ship on Dad's train and build your own tracks and run your own engine and shovel your own coal. And I'm not going to be there to do that. You got to keep your engine rolling. And everybody knows where our trains end. It's death. So right now you're on Dad's train. So you're going to have to listen. There's some jobs we got to do. You got to listen to me. I'm the engineer. I run this train. And once you're old enough, jump ship, get on your own train. And when you're on your own train, mine's way ahead of you. But I'm going to lay some signs out. I'm going to let you know there's a curve ahead. I'm going to let you know there's a hazard ahead, or slow down, this bridge isn't. That's my job. I'm just an advisory guy at that point. I'm not telling you what to do. I just want you to be advised because I want you to succeed.
Definitely.
Sooner than I did. I want you to do better than I did in my
25
20s.
days, 26 days.
Yeah, like do better, like at least 25. Survive 25.
One day more.
One day more.
So have you felt like you've been able to, how old is your oldest son, did you say?
He's 24.
24. Okay. So he's, how old are you? 25?
26.
26. So a couple of years younger than him. But how have you felt like you've been able to, do you feel like you've been able to maintain like an open communication between you and your sons where like they feel like they can come to you for things, or they feel like they can?
Because there's a bridge, right? There's a bridge between their kids and they're on Dad's train to now they're on their own train, and Dad's just here to help if he can.
Right.
Yeah. But there's a lot of stuff on Dad's train.
Yeah.
Right. There's all kinds of stuff on Dad's train. So they don't get to come over, but they get to ask and talk, and that helps out. But there is a parenting, and you'll experience this. And I don't know, I I pay attention to how people are. I just pay attention to human behavior. I like to witness it, and and it's not that I'm trying to poke and point out anybody's flaws as parents or anything like that. I can see how a kid's being raised with my past experiences and know that there's reasons parenting why this kid is acting a certain way.
Yeah, right.
So I knew that going into it. My daughter's like 11 or 12 years old, and I told her, I remember this vividly. We're driving from in New York, in Watertown, New York, and we were driving to the store, and I was like, listen, sweetie, in about 2 years, you're going to think Mom and I are crazy. You're going to think our rules don't apply to you, or they're dumb and we don't know what we're talking about. You're going to think you're smarter than us, all these things. And I said, that's normal. Your body's going to go through that, and you're not going to like us. And she started crying. She's like, I'll never not like Mommy and Daddy. And I was like, I just let you know, but I kind of said it ahead of time, and she went through it and she experienced it. But it was good for her to know that there's a window where you're self-identifying. You're trying to discover yourself as a young person. Those hormones are important, and young boys they're gonna act out. They're gonna lash out. Like my oldest boy, he said there was a moment he was like 14, and my wife corrected him on something, and he raised his voice at her, and I looked at him sideways, and I was like, "Excuse me," and he's just like dropped his head. And I said, "That's okay, but you have to understand it's your mother, and I know that you don't really know what that feels like right now. That you just burst it out, but you got to learn to control that." So
and I like that you mentioned Jordan Peterson. I actually almost did earlier on in the conversation, but because there's one thing that Jordan Peterson said. I used to listen to him quite a bit. There's one thing that he said that stuck with me like forever. Like it's like the one thing. It's like the biggest thing he said that have stuck with me was advice to young men. It was learn to be a monster and then learn to control it. That
I say that all the time.
Yeah, from Jordan Peterson.
It's not so much. And the funny thing about Jordan, I'd love to talk to him sometime, is I've said all these things, but I'm not nearly as articulate and studied as he is.
Right.
But we have the same philosophies on life. Raising 4 boys. I have a monster. It was, and mine's pretty bad. It's like on steroids for a while. I saw some things and went through stuff in life, and wrestling allowed me to cage it. And then I put it away and then wrestled for years without even needing it. And then the best part is I went to combat and I never brought him out. So I don't need him, but I know now when I would use him. And I don't want to let him out, but it would be if it was in that survival with my family or my wife and kids and I'm threatened, I think
that can mean a lot of things. Thank you so much for listening to this clip of the Here's What Happened podcast. Make sure you slide over to the Here's What Happened podcast YouTube channel to listen to the full episode. While you're at it, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. Thank you for listening.